Did you get the email? Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Community Conversations. This is Brenda Foreman. This is our very first show. Uh, Name it the inaugural show for us today. And today we are speaking with two amazing powerhouses, women in our community. They are phenomenal women. And we are going to be celebrating today because, you're part of history. Lori Beazer will be the first person that is appearing on our show, the very first person. This
Oh my
woman is
God.
amazing. She does some things within our community. She's a founder of so many things, but I'm going to let her introduce herself in a minute. She is a founder of Toronto Pan African Film Festival, the Afro Caribbean Farmers Market, and Toronto Patty Fest. And there is a reason that we brought her on the show today, because within our community, we have small pockets of diasporians within the Caribbean, Africa, all areas of the continent of Africa, and everywhere in the Caribbean. Toronto is a melting pot. And this woman is from the Caribbean. She's doing amazing things, and I will let her introduce herself. Her name is Lori Beazer. Welcome, Lori.
Hello. Thank you, Brenda. That was great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I think you did a wonderful job doing the whole introduction. And yes, I'm Lori Beazer, and I am the founder of Canada's very first culturally specific farmers market in Little Jamaica, right here in Toronto. We've been around now for 5 seasons. And this is go time for me. So the market starts really in a few weeks, about 2 weeks. We'll start
Mhm.
our season once again, providing that platform for Black food entrepreneurs and our Black farmers. And then we roll into a really cool and awesome food festival called Toronto Patty Fest, where we highlight, I think, Toronto's unofficial favorite snack food, which is the Jamaican patty. So we've gone ahead and created a festival around that in August. And then we kind of round out the season with the Toronto Pan African Film Festival. This is our second season. Our first season was awesome, so we're really rolling it out again. So again, this is go time for me. I'll sleep in September when everything is all said and done.
Oh, I know what that's like, putting on events. Like, one event is really hard, and you've got three major things happening throughout the summer.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it. This is why we say women are phenomenal. You are phenomenal. I want to hear, first of all, about the farmers market. How is this arranged? Where is it?
Mm-hmm.
How often is it done?
So again, this is our fifth season. We started in 2017 in a very different part
Mhm.
of the city of Toronto. It was our pilot in 2017 at Jane and Wilson, that area. And because things are so challenging for our community in finding space, we had to wait another 3 years to find our home, which is in Little Jamaica. And that's the Eglinton West area. So we've been there. We're back again for the fourth season in that space.
Oh,
And we have um, eight markets this season, rotating every other week. I found that it's a little bit challenging for our community to have a farmer's market each and every week. So this being our fourth in the same location, we've decided that, we're going to try that every other week to really help our growers and
okay.
our
So
food.
every other week.
Every other
So,
week, yeah. So starting September 7th, and then we'll go to the end of September. So we
so
have a
for
total
one
of
month.
8 markets, correct. So we have a total of 8 markets from July to September,
Okay.
rotating every other week.
A- And how do the people, how do the How do you get in touch with the growers, with the entrepreneurs, whoever is involved? Can they get in touch with you if they want to be a part of this?
So the AfroCaribbeanFarmersMarket.com, AfroCaribbeanFarmersMarket.com. You can get a hold of me there. We're still sort of looking for vendors because I like to see what's coming through. I
Hmm.
haven't shut off the vendor process just yet because I really want to be able to create an incredible, diverse uh, market for our
Yeah.
community, right? And the longer you do this, people come to you. It's really rare that I have to go look for people anymore, which is really great.
Oh,
People look forward to this event because we've really created a fantastic cultural hub right here in Toronto with the farmers market, and it's Canada's first culturally specific. So it's special. It really is a special
oh.
space.
Yes, it would be because we get a chance to get the fresh vegetables and fruits,
Indeed,
made products again as well, the byproducts from these things, the
indeed,
jams and all these things that
indeed.
are
That
known
are
within our
really
community.
specific to us, right? You're not coming to
Right.
the Afro Caribbean Farmers Market and you're going to find French bread. Don't come because you're not going to find it, right? What you're going to
Exactly.
find, is your casada. You're going to find rum cake, things that are really indigenous to us. You're going to come and you're going to experience some ginger beer and some sorrel, right? I do allow import food because clearly we can't grow that here. So,
Yes.
you'll find that mango. You'll come and you'll find that guinnep if it's in season.
Mm-hmm.
And then our local
Yeah.
growers will grow, the callaloo and the cabbage and the peppers and all of the things that, really make a
Makes.
fantastic meal at home. You'll find that at our market.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Just talking about that, I'm tasting the guinea. That was one of my favorite things growing up in St. Kitts.
Yeah.
I love those fruits. And the only time I get a chance to really enjoy that is when I come to some place like this, a farmer's market.
Yay!
And it's a
You'll find
chance
that
for us
here.
as a people to get together too, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We really try to create that hub for as quickly. Well, we're only there for 4 hours, but we really try to make a good go of those 4 hours in creating that
And
really
it's
awesome safe space for community to come and share their stories through food.
this is beautiful. Why did you start this? First of all, did you see a need for us in nutrition wise? I'm talking here.
No,
How was
actually,
that
no,
coming?
not at all. That wasn't my wheelhouse at all. It was a bet.
Oh,
I,
really?
I typically do African centered events in the city,
Mm-hmm.
and I was dating someone at the time, and we were kind of crunching numbers, and we were thinking about opening up a grocery store, a larger scale grocery store. And we were crunching numbers one night, and we realized, holy moly, 5 million just to get it going. So he made a suggestion that I start a farmers market, and I said, yeah, I can do that. And he says, no, you know what? Never mind. No, you can't. I said, yeah, I can actually. 20 bucks, 20 bucks. So 9 weeks later, bingo bango, we did it. And up to now, the man still owes me the $20.
We're calling you out, whoever you are, if you're listening. Lori wants her $20.
I want
She's
my
won this
$20,
bet.
Mark. I want my money. So no, it was a bet. And it was a learning process for me because much like a lot of other people, I had no idea we had Black farmers. I had no idea. And I'm in Toronto.
Wow.
After doing this initiative and realizing that there were so many that did not have a platform to sell their goods. And this is what makes this project so incredibly powerful. Because the farmers market space is typically a white space. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a space that you see a lot of our people in. So this space now becomes a safe space where they can come and sell to people that look like them. This is
Mm-hmm.
what makes it incredible here in Toronto. And a lot more people need to come to the market. Like You really do. This is the shining star of animation, is what we do.
And I think it will increase in numbers because
You
more and more
know,
people are finding out about you.
hope so. Hope so. We are limited in the space that we are in right now. We, as African people, we don't have a lot of opportunity for space. The city, the
Hmm.
province, the country, they hoard. There's space for them, but not a
Ah.
lot of space for us.
Hmm.
We,
But we're
we
working
have
on
to
that.
remember that. We have to remember that. So whatever little space that we can, and we continue to work in the margins here, which I'm getting really tired of working in the margins. We need to have access like everybody else has access.
Hmm.
So we're kind of tapped at our capacity to expand. We have
Hmm.
to look at other places to do that. But where we are now, we just make it work.
Like we always do. But
Like
we
we
hope
always
to do way more than just making it work.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
you're going a few years now, so that every year
yeah,
it's going to be better and better and better.
hope so. We hope
So
it
I am
better. Hope
excited.
isn't a strategy, so it better. It is. It
Yes,
is. It is. It is.
yes.
It is. It is.
Okay. So
But
I'm
I have to
really
tell you, not to interrupt, but this is something that's so cool that's happening this year, and we're the only farmers market that's doing it. We were granted money from a foundation called Peter Gilgan. And
uh-huh.
Peter Gilgan Foundation has gifted us $10,000 worth of our currency. We have our own currency in the market. Yeah, I know. Freaking awesome. I know. I should be a millionaire. anyway,
Soon,
anyway, we
soon.
have our own currency and it's called Callaloo Cash. And Callaloo Cash, I'll just show you really quickly. I don't know if everybody can see this. Everybody can kind of see this.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes, we can
Okay.
see it.
So
That's a $3 one.
we have our own currency, and what this currency is used for is for our shoppers to be able to come enter our market and shop with dignity. So they use their Callaloo Cash and they use it at any vendor, and the vendors I reimburse 100%. So Peter Gilgan has given us $10,000 and I'm rolling that back out into the Callaloo Cash. So what does that mean? That means those that come to the market, I'm literally giving them money to spend from between
Wow.
$15 to $25. You are able to come to our market and buy whatever you want, whether it's, the fresh food or the ready-made food. If you are food insecure, you are welcome at our market this year. Unheard of. So literally, we have 8 markets. So we're talking about $1,200 that's going to be circulating in our market each and every Sunday. So we invite community down. If you are experiencing any kind of food insecurity, I have money for you to come and spend. Isn't that awesome?
Oh,
So
that
thank you,
is
Peter
awesome.
Gilligan Foundation. Thank you guys so much for doing this. Yeah, our community thanks you well in advance.
Oh, wow. And thank you, Lori, for doing
Yeah,
this.
pretty cool, pretty cool.
You
Yeah, it's
know, this.
awesome. And it's not $3 this year, it's 5. So literally
Oh,
I'm giving
okay.
5 to $25 just to people just to come. Buy your
And
mango,
buy
buy
some food.
your food, your
Ah,
ready-made food if you're hungry. We have vendors there that are making food. So
well,
that's
I'm
it's
saving
unheard
the
of.
date. And we want everybody who's listening right now. We are broadcasting to over 130 countries. So
Nice,
people are hearing us.
nice.
Mind you, the GTA people are welcome. We definitely want you to come. But people, if you're flying in, no, visit the
You never
farmers
know.
market because
You
this is
never
our
know. You
community,
never
no matter
know.
where you are in the world. Okay. People, folks, you are listening to LuvBay Afrobeat music. This is Community Conversations, and we are talking to Lori Beazer, the community trailblazer, the phenomenal woman that's doing so much for us. And I'm so happy that you're here, Larry. Thank you for coming.
Thank you,
I want
Benda.
to touch on something else.
Hmm.
The Pan African Film Festival, another amazing initiative that you have started. This will be your
Yeah.
second year, right?
Only the second year, yeah. Yeah.
And it's building so much momentum already
It
amongst our
is.
people and outside. I want you to tell us something about this. First of all, how did you start this festival?
So, because of the market and its success, the City of Toronto Museum wanted to invited me to
Mhm.
tell the story about the farmers market. And so I did that. So it was a little film that we did. It's called The Rise of Black Food Sovereignty.
Mhm.
And while I was making this video film, I realized, well, how many people are really ever going to see this thing? Right? And then I had the epiphany. It was the aha moment. And I'm like, okay, well, how many other amazing Black filmmakers are out there? Because I'm not one, but people that have gone to school and have made fantastic film. Where are these things being screened? And then I'm like, let me try my hand in creating an event around the supporting of our Black filmmakers. And voila, here we are with the Toronto Pan African Film Festival. It's as simple as that. It's just, how do I create space for people in the arts? And I
Very
was seeded the money through the City of Toronto's cultural hotspot because they were in the Little Jamaica Basin at the time. So I
Mhm.
applied for the grant, and voila, we did it last year. And they loved the project so much that they kind of snuck me a little bit more money for this year. And they're not even in Little Jamaica this year, but they believed in the projects that much. And I
Oh.
also applied through the Toronto Arts Council. So these two funders are really helping to seed and move the project this year. And I have some other partners like you, Brenda, uh,
Ah, and
hosting the Africa Fashion Week before your week. So we're going to be there to lend some support and awareness for what
Mhm.
you're doing a week and a half later. So yeah, it's really become this incredible wrecking ball force for Black filmmakers. I'm so proud of it. I think this is one of the most incredible things that I've ever done. I'm excited.
Oh, I am super excited too.
Yeah.
And folks, this is what this is all about, collaboration. We as a people coming together and collaborating. For those of you who don't know, I'm also the creative director of African Fashion Week Toronto. This is what Lori has alluded to just now, and we are collaborating on that front as well, where film and fashion comes together. We have many people within the community that want to collaborate, and we are always open. We are here. That's why we are on LuvBay Community Radio, because it is for the community. It's a building space, is where we welcome people to talk about their lives, to inspire, to share their best practices, to guide people, and to motivate each other, because we want to make this pie huge, right? The bigger the pie, the bigger the slices we can all share. And this is what we're doing. This social movement, as I'd like to call it, begins with us. Every single one of us can do this. So, Lori, can
Yes.
you tell me about the premise of this year's film festival? I remember you shared a little bit with me, but I want you to share with the audience the focus for this year's festival.
So this year is pretty special since we are still emerging. And I work with the most incredible young man. I love him. He is my left hand. He's my right hand. He's my heart. He's my program director.
Mhm.
And this young gentleman, his name is Sheldon Shaw, and he's the one that literally goes out there and pulls in films for me.
Mhm.
And as we were looking through what was available for this season, it dawned on me that so many of these stories are about Black women. So again, voila, I'm like, okay, well, our second season is going to be it's going to be all about her. And her is stories told by Black women or about Black women. So this is what we're
Mm.
going to be screening in our second year. All of the screens, all of the films are about her or by her, because I didn't realize women were so there was just so much happening in the film industry for women. So this was a no brainer. I'm like, okay, the second
Mhm.
season, all about her. So it's great that we're even having this conversation, more women,
Yes.
and I think it's time. No, I know it's time. It is our time. And that great mother energy is really coming back, right?
Yes, it
That
is. It is.
patriarchal energy will always be there, and it's a very important, powerful piece for us as Black women. But that big mama energy is she's coming back, and we'll
Oh,
be able
yes.
to see that in film this year. So it's great.
We look forward to seeing it. And ladies and gentlemen, there's us building each other as women does not mean that we do not love our men.
Not at
We
all.
need you. We need the support, and we need to support each other. But in order to build, we need to build ourselves, each of us, and then we can build each other. So this is what Lori is very, very good at. Lori, tell us a little bit more about this. Where is this going to be held? What time, year, month?
Um,
I'm sorry.
so the Toronto Pan African Film Festival,
Mhm.
tpaff.com, tpaff.com, will be held in the month of Emancipation. It is RBG all the way, the red, black, and the red, black, and green. Okay,
Mhm.
month of Emancipation, and it will be August 16 to 18. Our opening night gala, our black carpet event. We don't do red carpets. We do black carpets. Is on the Friday night, where we're going to be screening a film called The Black Beauty Effect. It's a three-part film. It was aired actually already on Netflix, and Andrea Lewis, who is a Canadian. Hopefully, we get her in town for the talkback session after. But
Mhm.
the Black Beauty Effect talks about Black women and their role in beauty, in the world of beauty. So it's a three-part. Our screening on the Friday night is The Crown Effect. So we're going to be talking, that film speaks to the glory of each and every Black woman, and that's her hair and how it's perceived and the struggles that she deals with her hair
Mm.
in society. So that's what we're going to be screening very first night. Hopefully, Andrea is here, and we can have an awesome talkback session.
Hmm. That is amazing. And we all know that we have struggles with our hair. That is a complete topic. We can go on that in about 3 hours,
Yeah,
topic on its own.
yeah.
So I think all of us should be able to attend. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to supporting this.
Yay! We want everyone out. It's a free event. As long as I am able to get funding, as long as I'm able to do this, our festival will be free.
Wow.
And the when you go on the website, you'll be able to see where you are able to secure your tickets. We're going to be using Eventbrite again, but that won't be until later on in the month, because these things go by so quickly that you really have to
Hmm.
pay attention. Um, but yeah, we're going to be screening all of the films at the NIA Center. Again, Canada's first Black multidisciplinary theater. So this is going to be a great time for community to actually be able to go in and see this. It's a fantastic
Ah,
space. We're
I'm so
gonna
looking
turn it
forward
out.
to that.
We're gonna turn it out. We're
And the
gonna
NIA
turn it
Center is
out.
new as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people are not aware of the center, but it is the like you say, multidisciplinary
Yeah.
center within our Black community,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful. So everybody should go down, check it out. There are many things happening there throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
Lori,
Yes.
tell us before we sign off,
Mm-hmm.
where they can find information on both of the events, the farmers market and
Mhm.
also the film
The
festival.
film festival? Okay. So the Afro Caribbean Farmers Market, AfroCaribbeanFarmersMarket.com. Simple, simple. And Toronto Pan African Film Festival is TPAF, TPAFF.com. Simple.
Ah, beautiful. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Lori. Is there anything else you want to share with our audience?
No, I just want everyone to come out and support. Hit me up on either of those. You're connected to me via tpaf.com or afrocaribbeanfarmersmarket.com, and just give me a thumbs up, high five, fist bump, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm cool. I'm easy, not cheap.
Ah,
I'm easy.
ah, differentiate. We must. No one,
That's it.
none of us. Beautiful, beautiful queens we are.
Thank you. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you so much
Um,
for having me. Maybe closer to the film festival, I'll come on again and we could
yes,
we could chop it
you
up
are
again.
welcome. Yes, you are so welcome. And thank you for making the time to come on today. You
You're
know,
welcome.
like I
You're
say,
welcome.
we're making history today. You are my very first guest on my very
Wow.
first episode,
Okay.
our talk show on Love Bay Radio, Community Conversations.
Thank you for having me.
So I look forward to seeing you within our community, see you do all these things that you're doing, keep doing them,
Thank you.
keep sharing, keep building. I thank you on behalf of the rest of us here on the station,
Thank you.
and
Thank
I
you for
look forward
having
to
me.
seeing you soon.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Yes. Yes, this is your host, Brenda Foreman, on Community Conversations. This is our very first episode today. You know, this is where we build within community. We call this building because we're building community from the ground up. We all do a little bit, nothing is too small. Every little bit helps. Like my grandmother used to say, one cocoa, fill basket. And I'm sure those of us in the islands, especially in Jamaica, will understand that it means something that we build together. We want to highlight the positive things that are happening in our community. We want to speak to the movers and the shakers. We want to speak to the phenomenal women and men. And our next guest is coming in. But before she starts, I want to remind some of us, or those of us who are listening, that we have a very, very important event called the Voices of the Millennials. It's an annual event that we've been doing here through LuvBay. And it's going to be the third year this year on July 20th. Scholarships to deserving young people are given through LuvBay. This community is amazing. It's called Voices of the Millennials. I'm sorry, Be the Light Youth Summit. So if you're interested, go on to Eventbrite and register. If you know anyone in the community, the GTA, any young people, get them to go on and get some information, write a little bit about themselves so that they can be eligible for this scholarship. And thank you. Our next guest today is Dr. Roz Roach. This woman is another trailblazer, a phenomenal woman that I want everyone to know because I've had the pleasure of meeting her recently. I've heard about her for years and years, but we haven't had the opportunity to sit down. And we sat down this week and we talked and talked. And I want to continue this conversation with her because I want her to share her story. I wanted to share all the beautiful things that she's doing, building our community, just like my previous guests, doing it in their own way and doing it for the women especially and their families, but everyone benefits from this because our entire community benefits. She is a psychotherapist, an athlete, a mother, the founder of New Life on Longevity Center. She's executive director of Dr. Roz's Healing Place. This is a center for empowerment and healing. And you are the first woman in this country, in Canada, to build anything like this. And you've been doing this for a number of years. I'll let you continue on that. But there are a number of projects that you're working on, initiatives that I'm so impressed, and everybody who's listening will be impressed about. The Sisters Calling I want you to talk about, and we'll bring the others up after. Welcome, 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 Dr. Roz.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for having me.
Yes, you're welcome. So tell us about you. Tell us about what you do, and we're being streamed to over 130 countries. So everybody's hearing you right now.
And that's great. I think it's about time that people hear me because there's so many pieces to me. But the piece I want to jump into is about the peace, the love, the togetherness, and the partnership that we need as a people. I, for
Mhm.
the last 44 years, have been working with women and girls who have experienced violence or trauma or pain and suffering. And what become really clear is that our sisters are hurting. Our sisters are hurting in different capacities in different ways. And so about 30 years ago, I had the privilege to go into all women's organization in Ontario to get a sense of what goes on in there. So I worked as a consultant, as a facilitator, as a policy maker for centers and shelters that were funded by Ontario government. And in doing so, I ran into the reality of the internal suffering and hurt and pain that we don't talk about, or that we are afraid to talk about, or that society has stigmatized it in such a way that we don't. That when women and girls are violated or hurt and they report it, they are re victimized by the system. So I had a moment in a small shelter, women's shelter, where women were fleeing violence and with their children. And as I said before, is the type of conversation that no one talks about, that is, there's some kind of a shame and guilt around it, and the blaming of the suffering that survivors feel that if they share this pain, they will be blamed. And in fact, they are blamed when they go into the system. What did you do to make someone hurt you like that? What did you do to bring this on you? Maybe if you cook the food on time, or maybe if you don't wear a short skirt, or maybe if you get in your mother's house early enough, this would not happen. So I got really, really, in my development as well, I got really disappointed by the whole issue of violence against women and children. And as I said earlier, it's a private conversation. I'm glad you put me out there publicly to let people know that if you're hurting or if you're experiencing or living in a violent environment, there is support and there is help out there. And I'm out there. I'm the warrior. I'm out there. So about 30 years ago, I went into a shelter in Scarborough to do the facilitation, mediation, policy development, board development, staff development, and all the pieces of work that we talk about without really talking about it. And I
Mhm.
saw a space, a shelter. It was called the Emily Stowe Shelter at the time. I saw a shelter where women were fleeing violence and they were hiding from their abusers. And it was the most dilapidated environment that people were living in. And I remember going to my vehicle and going into a deep state of sadness for a moment and decided that I was going to close my private practice down. My private practice was a place where I did therapy and trauma work with survivors of violence, women and children. So I decided I would close my practice and raise $4 or $5 million and build a center for healing and empowerment. A space where women can flee when they are fleeing abusive environments, a place where they can go and really heal. Not a place where they would go to hide from the abuser
Mhm.
or to hide from the community or to hide from the system, but a place where they can heal. So I went on this journey and I remember calling a friend, a Black friend, and I said to her, this is what I wanted to do at the moment. And she said to me, why would you want to do that? With all the education you got, that does not pay. Why you want to do that? But I don't think she understood where I was moving into at the moment. So then I
Mm-hmm.
called another friend who happened to be a white woman. And I called her and I said, "Can I see you tonight?" And she said, "Sure, meet me at the club." Now, this white woman belonged to a white elitist club, which was called the McGill Club downtown Toronto, and only white rich women went there.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me, "Meet me there." So we both had a laugh because previously, when I met this woman there, they thought I was her housekeeper. So we had a laugh. So I said, "When I come to that club, people think I'm your maid." And she said, "Never mind that, meet me there." So I met this woman there, and we are talking about 1990, 1997, 1998. So I met this woman there, and we sat in a hot tub. And I waited a moment when I could talk to her, and I said to her, "I want to close my private practice down and raise money to build a center for women and children who are survivors of violence, a place where they can heal and a place where they will want to be in." And she said to me, her words, she said, "Roz, do you know the magnitude of such a project? However, if anyone can do it, it's you." And,
Mm.
and that was it. 7 years later, we opened Dr. Roz's Healing Place, a center for abused women and children and youth in the struggle of violence.
And now, how many years later, you are still there and
Well,
doing wonders?
well, we are not just still there. We are all over the world. We are all over.
Mm-hmm.
We are not just there. I call that my head office. I call that
Yes.
the head office. But Dr. Roz is still in place. We have organizations. We've run for many years a huge piece of work in Liberia, West Africa. And we bring women from different parts, women who are at risk of being killed. We bring them into Canada and have them settled and get on their feet and do what they need to do to take their life back. We have an organization in the Caribbean, which is called Women's Lives Matter Too. So I
Mm-hmm.
bring in women from different parts of the Caribbean to Canada who are at risk of being killed because the world knows that violence against women is a global issue. It's a societal issue. It's a financial issue. It's a global issue. It's a health issue. It's not a woman's issue, traditionally
Mm-hmm.
talked about. And in the conversation around the belief that violence against women or gender-based violence is a woman's issue, no, 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 no. The women are doing the work to support that cause. But it's an issue that affects our health, it affects our economy, it affects our housing. When a woman flees, she has nowhere to go. She automatically she leaves her home and she's automatically becomes homeless. It affects her well-being. It affects her emotional, her relationships moving forward. It affects every part of her being. So at the Healing Place, we don't address one part of the self. We deal and help to address every facet of the being. So we help you financially, we help you educationally, we help you legally, we help you with housing, we help you with your children, we advocate for you in positions, we advocate for you, we help you emotionally, which is a big piece of the damage that
Yes.
sisters go through when they're experiencing violence directed to them. And I often say to others that you break a woman's nose, you damage her collarbone, or you break her leg, that heals in time.
Mm-hmm.
But the emotional damage can last a lifetime. So
Yes.
we invest in the emotional well-being, the healing of the trauma, and that's a lifetime investment. So for the last 44 years, I'm sure I've served a million and more women across the world and here in Canada. The Healing Place, we serve women locally, nationally across the country, and globally. So we have no boundaries. So with that in mind, I I want to speak to the different way of educating because the different things that I have done to educate. For many, 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 many years, I ran around the world with a briefcase and a blazer, looking like everybody else. Uh-huh. And having overheads and handouts and brochures and
Yeah.
publications and articles and workshops. Violence has lost control. And I'm talking about the 70s when I began doing that type of stuff, 70s and 80s, you know, your lectures and seminars. And what was happening in my mind was that we were just getting the drop in the ocean. The teardrop in the ocean came out of these conferences. I was seeing the same people in every country I went to, was the same faces, the stakeholders, the educators, the people. We weren't reaching the people to educate about violence. We weren't changing the psyche of the beings. So that went on for many years, and then something happened. And the something I'm going to talk to you about is something that happens every day. Because if you know that a woman is killed every minute of the day in this country, a girl is being violated or raped every minute of the day in this country. And I'm talking about Canada right now. Yes. So something happened, and I somehow get to know a lot of things because of what I do nationally and globally and locally. Some way, something happened to me about, I think, 7 or 8 years ago. And I'll tell you the story. It's a public story, so I can tell it. It's all over media, covered it. About, I say 7, I say 8 years ago. Time goes so fast, and I'm not really trying to keep up with the tracking of the time. A woman came to Dr. Roz's healing place with her 2 children. And one was 11, I believe, and the other was 9, 2 boys. And she was a nurse. And I was a nurse before I went into the medical field. So I was a nurse in Montreal from 1972 to when I graduated and left to Toronto in the 80s, in the early 80s. So this woman realized, or she found out through the grapevine that I was a nurse. So she got very connected with me. And each time she would bump into me on the stairway or in the entrance, she would say, oh, she would talk about nursing in Toronto. And we would talk and say, oh my God, this is still happening. That is still happening. Things haven't changed. So that was the level of the relationship I had with this individual. And then one day I came into the office and my program director told me that she left. And I said, where did she go? The program director said, she said that she got an apartment on Front. And I said, Front? How would she afford an apartment on Front with her income from nursing and 2 young kids? But we knew that.
By the way, I'm sorry, everybody. For those of you who don't know, in Toronto, Front Street is in the city, in the heart of the city, where apartments are quite expensive. Sorry, go ahead.
And I thank you for that. I thank you for that. So she said, I was told that she got a unit there, and I thought, like, how would she afford that downtown Toronto? And we both leaned into one another and we whispered, do you believe her? And we whispered, I'm sure she went back to the abuser, which is sometimes women do when they leave an abusive, because leaving an abusive situation is very, very, very difficult.
Yes.
And sometimes when you leave, that's when you get killed. So we leaned into one another and we said, do you believe her? And we said, about 4 days later, or sometime later, it could be 5 days later, I got a call. Dr. Raz, you just lost one of yours. And I said, who is it? And the media called her name. And I went to the crime scene. This woman was stabbed about 50 or 60 times. And I know it's a sad piece of conversation to put out to the public, but it's real, and it's not, and I don't operate in secrecy and privacy and confidentiality, because if I keep it like that, it continues with no means of mending or changing or helping one another make a difference. Right. So it's a sad story I'm telling you, but it's a real story. So we went, the 11-year-old boy was stabbed 30 times, and So it became media news. CBC ran the item that evening. I went to the crime scene. That evening, CBC ran the item about the woman. I could call her name, but it don't make sense calling her name because it's out there. The news ran her name and all of that.
Understood.
Yeah. So I got really angry. Anger for me is really about change, investing in change, saying more, screaming and yelling about what's happening with our people all over the world, not just in Canada. What's happening to our women, why women and girls are going through this. It's a conversation I say that people don't want to talk about, but it's in everybody's life, every
Yes,
single one of us.
We have to talk about this.
And it's everybody's concern because from the age, as the statistic says, from the age of 16 or even 14 to 65, a woman would experience some kind of violation somewhere along the way. And the violation is not always physical, it's emotional, it's financial. We hear it in our music, we hear it in our cultural groups, we hear it. So the abuse that I'm talking about is not just breaking somebody's nose or smashing a face or physically beating a woman. It's calling a woman a bitch, a whore, or a slut. As simple as that. the verbal abuse. It's telling a woman or a girl, you're so fat and ugly. It's the emotional abuse. And we have to understand how the abuse affects us and how it's directed to us. And we have to join the movement to stop it. Yes, the perpetrators are predominantly male. Yes, we have great brothers in our lives. I have a great son and a great husband who work diligently to help me do the work I do. They are men. We have great men in our world, but we also have those perpetrators who are hurting and causing suffering to women and girls. So this happened to this woman, and I got angry. And I thought, oh my goodness, when will it stop? The violence is violence, whatever form it comes in. But something happened at that moment with me, even if I deal with this every single day. Something
Turning
happened.
point.
And with that, I went into my meditative zone to do my own self-healing, went on my couch and do what I do and do my breathing, do my talking to therapists, and just to get that move through my mind and my body and my soul, that incident. But then around the same time, a dear friend of mine in Trinidad asked me when I was coming to Trinidad. I go to the Caribbean 2-3 times a year to do what I do. And as you all know, the Caribbean, like all over the world, girls and women are being killed and violated every day. So
Daily.
I went to the Caribbean. My friend called and said, when are you coming? And I said, why? He basically told me why. He told me that he would like me to meet someone who works for him because he thinks that she's going through an abusive situation at home with her partner, who is her husband. So in Trinidad, he hooked us up. I sat with this woman who I know. I did not know her personally, but I knew her because she was a news reporter and she was on the 6 o'clock news every evening. So when I'm in the country and I watch the news, I see her reporting. And he arranged that we meet. But don't tell her what I told you, which again is the secrecy that we deal with that keeps this violation continuing with ease because everyone is afraid to talk about it.
Yes.
So I met this woman and for 3 hours we talked. We talked about carnival. We talked about costume. We talked about dance. We talked about Canada. We talked about England. We talked about education. We talked. And at the end of the 3 hours, I got a call from my driver who called to figure out how to pick me up and where to pick me up. And I looked at my watch and I said to her, I think I have to go now. And just as I said that, she said to me, Dr. Raz, I have a friend and she's going through this and that and that and that. What can I do to help her? What can I tell her? Now, she knew that I help women come out of abusive situation and I bring them to Canada. She knew I do the immigration pieces. She knew all that because her boss told her. So she said, what can I do? And I then began to give her a safety plan. I gave her a safety plan. I said, leave your passport, your whatever. I'll leave it at your
Mm-hmm.
mother's house. And then I got internally aggravated. So I leaned into her. And her name is Marcia. I leaned into her and I said, Marcia, are you sure you're not talking about yourself? And she said, no, 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 it's a friend. All right. I left. And about 3 weeks later, I came back. I'm in Canada. And I got a call. Dr. Rose, where are you? And I answered where I was. I was in the airport. I said, I'm in the airport. I'm going on this assignment. And the person said, Marcia just got murdered.
Ah,
Marcia's husband beat her on her head with a hammer, set her on fire.
oh my God. Hello?
I'm here.
Hello?
I'm with you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we got muted. I am so sorry.
No,
I
talking about this is not an easy conversation. It's a difficult
I
one for the
know.
listeners to hear, but it is real. And
Yes.
every listener on your show today, regardless of what part of the world they live, can tell you a story.
Yes.
If not about themselves, it would be about someone they know, or their neighbor, or someone they met at school. And everyone knows a story.
Mm-hmm. We're all touched by it, and that's why we need to talk about it. And I understand everyone who's listening, I urge you to listen to this because it goes somewhere. It's going to show you how your pain and your experience has transitioned into helping and creating what you're doing now. So go on.
So I went to the Caribbean. I did what I do. I came back and I realized that the lectures, the seminars, the workshop, the conferences, the handouts, the brochures, uh-uh, it ain't working.
Mm-hmm.
So I have two sides of me that I keep separated, and from time to time I bring the two pieces of me together. I have a
Mm-hmm.
very artsy side of me. I'm really big in music and dance and song. And, people who know that side of me know the carnival in me, the soca woman in me, the fete in me, the party in me, the laughter in me. And then when I take my shower and change my clothing and get to the office, is the clinical side of me, the administrator, the warrior,
The
fighting for right.
phenomenal woman.
So what I decided to do in my therapeutic world was to bring these two together and bridge them really hard in an attempt to make change. And because we know that music and dance is very therapeutic and that keeps me grounded, plus the physical side of what you talked about, the athletic side. Those pieces keep me grounded and strong. I decided to bring the two pieces together and wrote Sisters Calling.
Yes.
SISTAS.com.
Sisters calling.
Sisters calling on brothers to join the movement to help us hold abusers accountable to stop the violence towards women and children. It
Mhm.
tells the story. Sisters Calling is a theoretical musical dance theater production, and it was on stage last year, July, at the Aga Khan Museum with great reviews. And it's back on stage at the Meridian Arts Center this June, July the 6th, Sisters Calling. It's telling the story, which is a real story, about a woman who came to Canada and met her partner, her husband, who she actually didn't really know well. She came from a country far away. And when she met her husband, he set some ground rules. And the rules were you cannot call your aging parents in the country you came from unless I'm there once a month. So once a month, she would, call her parents, and she would lie, like we all do when you want to hide your business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't tell nobody my business. Keep my business to myself, and that in itself is traumatic.
And we
So
all know that in our culture, that is
the
one thing that we
language,
do. We do not air
I
dirty
hear it in
laundry.
therapy. Yeah, yeah. I hear it when I was practicing all the time from the sisters. I don't tell nobody my business.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Ross, I'm only telling you. I didn't even tell my mother. Now we hear that. We know that. I know
Mm-hmm.
what that's about. So this woman would call her parents once a month for 15 minutes and tell her parents how great Canada is, how she loves it here, she's having a good life, and it was all a lie in the presence of the husband. And then one day, she was home alone, and CBC News, 6 o'clock news came on, and they reported the incident I shared with you,
Mm-hmm.
the incident of Zaria. And I could call
Yes.
it, Zaria is a public incident. The news covered it, and it's part of the production. And she grabbed her 4-year-old son and she ran
Ah.
because she was worried it was going to happen to her. She ran. She knew no one. She could not speak the language. And she met a passerby and she asked the person, where's the nearest police station? She walked for 2 hours barefooted and went to the police station. The police brought her to Dr. Ross's healing place. When she came to the healing place, she met a warrior, which is me. I then told her no one has the right to treat her like that she should not be blaming herself, that we would support, we would help her with housing, we would help her with therapy, we would help her with schooling, we would help her son get into daycare and what is needed, which is what we did, which is what we do, and which is what we did. She then came into therapy with me, which I don't do, but she came into therapy with me, and she couldn't understand what this concept of therapy is because she never heard it in her country. She never even heard the word therapy. Like, what is that? So she worked with me
Mm-hmm.
once a week for a while. We got her affordable housing. It was approved. When she went to pick up the keys from the landlord, he saw that she was a brown woman and he told her it was taken. She came back to therapy and I told her that was racism. She did not know what racism it was or is because at the time she came from a place where they all look alike and she didn't have the issue of racism. They had other issues, but not the word racism. So I educated her on what racism is. She began to question her faith. Why me, God? Why am I going through this? Why am I suffering like this? She was able to work through that. We then happened to, in therapy, we worked on you have to be able to heal, you have to be able to let go. Let go of the pain, let go of the anger you're feeling towards the abuser, forgive the abuser and move on, let it go. Surround yourself with positive thoughts, positive people, develop new relationships. So she did all that in therapy. She went through a full transformation. She wanted to become a warrior. She wanted to help others. She wanted to be strong enough, and she was able to do the personal work she needed, and ended up celebrating her life. Got stronger, got healthier, got got a job in Toronto, and now she holds, and this is a real story. She holds a high profile position in this country, and she's celebrated. So that is the production on stage called Sisters Calling.
Ah.
On stage at the Meridian Arts Center on July the 6th. Be there. It will blow
Ah.
your mind.
Now, this was worth listening to. Hearing how you came to this point. This is true alchemy. Turning all the negative energies, all the negative experiences, and bringing it forefront, make it into something positive that's helping so many people. I don't know if you can see this. See? Yes, I have the flyer here that you gave me for this production called Sisters Calling. I am so impressed by it, and I'm so
Sisters,
happy.
not sisters,
Hmm?
sisters.
Yes, I'm sorry,
SISTA,
sisters calling.
sisters.
I urge everyone to look out for this. Can you tell people where they can find this? How can they get to this? I think it Eventbrite.
Eventbrite,
Mm-hmm.
no, Ticketmaster, not Eventbrite,
Ticketmaster. Okay.
Ticketmaster. You can go online, Sisters Calling, and I think all the links are there to buy tickets or to get the information. Or you can get at the box office, which is the Meridian Arts Center, and this one is on Young Street on Shepherd and Young.
Yes, 5110 Young Street. And I see here it says www.sisterscalling.com. Pretty simple. Sisters, Sistas. People, go check it out. Men, women, take your family because this is going to be riveting. I am looking forward to being there and assisting and bringing my people to witness this. Like, I'm very impressed, only not only because you're doing so much for us as a community. When I say us, I mean every single one of us, because we're all affected by this.
Yes, yeah,
Yes, and this is what community
and it's
conversations is about.
every culture. It crosses all
Hmm.
culture, all race, all socioeconomic group, all ages. It just touches everyone. It's not a problem that affects one group or the other. Regardless of your socioeconomic level, it touches everyone.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
because
But
we
what
all,
our listeners, sorry, go ahead. Well, I want to tell our listeners something because I want them to see that you can do anything you set your mind to. You're a doctor, you're an artiste, you do so many things. And what I want to tell them is that you wrote this.
yep.
Okay,
I
you were
wrote
the
the music,
director,
I
you
wrote
were
the
the
songs, I did the
producer,
costumes, and I wrote the
this.
script. But that came from a very high space. It actually didn't
Hmm.
come from the level of man. It came from a very powerful space. And that's the artistic side of me that heals me and keeps me looking the way I look, feeling the way I feel, thinking, the clarity and the strength and be able to do this day after day. So many people ask me, how could you do this work so long? How come you don't
Hmm.
get burnt out? And I thought, like, I'm governed. I am governed by a higher space and a higher place. No, I really believe that because
Hmm.
when I was 9 or 10 years old in Trinidad as a child, we had something called a radio fusion, I think, like a radio, and
Hmm.
my aunties would play. They always have the BBC News going on, if I remember.
Yes.
And I remember listening to the BBC News and listening to the war in some part of the world because for me as a child, Trinidad was the world. I've never even been to Tobago at the time. Trinidad was the world. It was so big
Yes.
in my mind as a child. And I remember telling my auntie that when I grew up, what that meant is when I got older, I wanted to go to Beirut to help the people at war. And my auntie said, "Where is Beirut?" And I said, "I really don't know." And I remember auntie saying, "Well, ask your teacher, where is Beirut? You first need to know where it is before you want to go there." So it was an early fantasy in me to help the world or to help people of the world. Even if it was Beirut, I've never been to Beirut, but as a child, I didn't even know what that was. But I heard it on the
Mm.
BBC News, and I heard of the suffering of the war and how women were being killed and girls were being killed. I heard that on the news as a child, and I wanted to
Yes.
go and help. And if one would ask, how did you become this way? Why did you choose this path? Were you an abused woman as well? And I say, no. I say, my partner and my husband, my partner is my husband for the last 47 years. So I've been around a long time. My husband's my best friend.
And you look like you're only 25.
I do know. This is why I say I'm
This is
governed.
what health and
I
wellness and
govern.
yes,
And I
yes.
have been assigned to do the work I do. I know often one would say, and I hear it all the time, when are you retiring? And I say, I retire when I die because I don't go to work, I just serve.
Ah,
It's
and
a very
thank you for
different.
doing that. This is the
And
things we want to talk about. I will just, ladies and gentlemen, Thank you for listening to LuvBay Afrobeat Talk Radio. We are talking right now with Dr. Roach, who's doing so much within our community. And I want to just remind you all about Voices of the Millennials on July 20th. This is our third annual event put on by LuvBay Radio. It's a scholarship, giving scholarships to deserving young people in our community. Registrations are open, so go on to Eventbrite and check it out. If you know anyone in the GTA who's interested or who have children, youth, teenagers who are studying in Canada, go on and apply. And this will be a wonderful event on July 20th. We are talking to Dr. Roach. Now, I loved hearing the stories. I've heard you every time I hear it, I hear different things. I hear how you've helped and I hear how you continue to help around the world. But I'm very curious. You started to tell us about how you do it, how you're governed. Um, and most people need to know that you can't do it on your own. We're
No,
human, but there's
no.
a higher power.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, yeah. Clearly, I cannot do it on my own. I would try, but I wouldn't be as successful. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I believe in self-care. And I believe that if you can take care of yourself, don't pretend to know how to take care of others. So regardless of what I do, I take care of me. Now, having said that, I remember many, many years ago, I talked about self-care and people would say, oh, Dr. Ross is so conceited. She's so full of herself. And I hear these things. I don't hear it
Mm-hmm.
today, but I've heard these things. She's so full of herself. She's so self-absorbed, but you have to be. Oh, and you could even be seen as selfish when you
Mm-hmm.
decide, I'm going to take 2 hours each day before I start my day to do this. So every day I take time. And if I have to start at 5 in the morning or 3 a.m. to do my self care, that's what I'll do. I am not the person who sleeps for 9 and 10 hours. I've never been that. And I say that because when I was a nurse in Montreal, I worked in every English hospital in Montreal. I did permanent nights as a psychiatric nurse at the Jewish General Hospital. And I did that for about 15 years. And I went to school during the day. But what I did was at 2 a.m. to 3 a.m., I had my dinner break. And
Mm-hmm.
I would take that hour to go into the nurse's off room and meditate every single night. I never went to the cafeteria. My colleagues would say, "Oh, there's fish night." It's like, good for you, go eat. I went and I meditated, and this was early 70s, right through that whole period.
Wow.
And I discovered the value of stillness and meditation to heal to heal and rest
Mm-hmm.
all the
Mm-hmm.
internal systems. So when I take an hour of deep meditation and I bring myself back to awareness, I feel as if I'd slept for 8 hours. I see so
Yes.
many people around me, they sleep for 8 hours and they get up really tired.
Mm-hmm.
And I would
You were
say, I
living
would,
proof.
yeah, I would tease my friends and I would say, you sleep too much. That's your problem. Now, sleep is important. Don't get me wrong. But I had early in my life, I developed a technique to rest, to get complete rest. So
Mm-hmm.
I can have the energy to go to school or go to classes in the day. So I basically went to school, had 2 babies, and went to school every day and worked almost every night. Because I hustled a lot.
Wow.
As you know, Black women, and I speak into Black women because I know about Black women, I'm a Black woman. And you know that Black women, Black immigrants, when we come to a foreign country like this, we work twice and 3 times as hard. We
Yes,
hustle.
I can attest to that.
That's what we do.
Yes.
So when my little 30 and 28-year-old sisters complained to me about working hard, I would often say to them, you think you're working hard? You doing that's how I treat my little mentees. I said, then you think things rough? You know what rough is? So we, and Brenda, you can relate to it too. We came to this place and we work.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to find ways to work to make a living, to help our partners, or to, if we're single, to help ourselves and help our children. And that's what we did as Black women immigrants. Our brothers do the same. or black
Hmm.
brothers, they do the same. But I'm particularly talking about sisters right now.
At this
We,
moment,
we hustle.
yes. This is our turn today. The brothers are going to get a chance to speak because we know we are all in this together. But today we are focusing on what you are doing for the women and children in this community and sharing so much. I mean, as you know, this is our first show. This is my very first um, episode of Community Conversation. So we're making history here today on so many levels. And I thank you so much for coming on and sharing this because you're shining such a bright light on this.
I just came out of a 42-kilometer hike today, so I'm just letting you know
Ah,
that this is my rest period. Now I'm sitting chatting with you. I did 40 kilometers on foot this morning, starting at 6 a.m. So just so you know.
42 kilometers. People, are you hearing this? And by the way, I told you we're streamed to over 130 countries. So I know people are gonna, in some areas, are gonna say, "Oh, that's nothing," and some people are gonna say, "No, I walked to the
And
fridge and
listen,
back, or I walked to the grocery store and back." But I want to be just like you. I am working towards
you
that.
stay being you because we all play a different instrument in the musical theme. You stay you. Don't be me.
Yes, but I want to be okay. How about I want to be fit? I want to be able to get up and
Well,
go.
you have to
That's
stop
my
sleeping
goal.
for so long and get up early. You have to stop. I tell my girlfriends, you sleep too much. They laugh, but you get fitter and healthier when you move your body.
Hmm. I know, and you're a doctor. You're talking from a personal perspective and also from a medical perspective.
Yes, a
So,
health perspective.
sharing your knowledge on so many levels and helping people to
Yeah,
grow and build, you share it in other ways. And you did a
yeah.
book, you gave me a book as well. We won't have enough time to go into it. So you're going to have to come back another time. But I want people to know about this book. It's called We Owe It to Ourselves to Be Well. If you can't take care of you, don't pretend to know how to take care of me. And I don't know if they can see this. Let me see if I can get the cover up here. Maybe not, because we are not a little bit there. No. Yeah. Okay. Well, next time. But I just want them to know that you are sharing on so many levels of things you've done. Dr. Ross's Healing Place, Sisters Calling, um, the Women's Lives Matter too in the Caribbean and around the world, and you, an author. Like you are a phenomenal woman, and I thank you. You are an amazing mentor. I thank you for being here. I thank you for just being you. So before we close off,
I don't want to
is
close off before I say hello to Laurie and,
okay.
and to let Laurie know that she should keep the vibe with the big mama energy. That I will be
Yes.
around her and support her in what she's doing. I just love her movement and her vibration. Thank you, Laurie.
Wonderful. Is there anything else you want to say? Anything to our audience?
Well, what I want to say is that please don't rationalize, don't close your eyes, don't pretend when you run into the issue of violence. Because you can go to your big fancy homes and lock your doors and put on your security cameras and stuff. You're unprotected. Because what we are talking about is it penetrates your psyche directly and indirectly, and it affects your well being. So stop pretending that is not happening to me, so I'm not going to get involved, I'm not going to say anything. Realize that it affects us all as individuals, as
Mhm.
community, as family, and as society at large. The issue of violence is huge and it's real. So do what little you can do. You don't have to be me. Do what little you can do. Hold people accountable. Name it when you see it and ask to stop. Just little pieces. That's all I need to say like on that. And I see you on June. I see you all on July the 6th. And with Laurie, we'll be bringing it to the film festival on film.
Yeah,
So we'll have that happening as well. So you'll get to
there we
see it
go.
at the festival, the whole production on online.
So there we go. Another way of to collaborate. And this is what we're here for. Love Bay Radio. This is what we do. Bring community together. We are defining what it means to be community in these conversations because community is not just within Canada, it's not just within Toronto, it's all of us within the diaspora, the continent, the Caribbean. We come together and we each bring something. We each have a light that we need to shine. And that's what we want to do. We want to talk about issues, but we also want to find solutions to these issues, which is what you do, Dr. Roz. We wanted to shine a light on the people who are doing so much, the phenomenal men and women in our community. And I thank you for coming again. I want to just say, ladies and gentlemen, we just gonna remind you. I'm sorry that I think I gave the wrong date earlier. It is July 13th for the Voices of the Millennials. Go onto the website, check it out. Registration are open if you know people who are young people who are deserving. Everybody can use a little bit of help, get them to use their creativity and come out. And it will be an amazing day. Dr. Roz, you're also invited to this event. Everyone who's listening, I want to thank you all for tuning into our first community conversations. Look forward to seeing you all again next Sunday at 5 p.m., where we're going to be speaking to other amazing, wonderful, brilliant people within our community who are doing some things that are out of this world. They're innovators. And I am Brenda Foreman. This is LuvBay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Dr. Ross. Thank you, Lori, for being here. And I look forward to seeing you all in the stream. Remember, you don't have to see the whole staircase when you want to walk. You just have to take the first step. And here we are taking the first step.
Sweet.
All right.